Hi Pratibha, welcome to Hans India.
Hi Sangam Mitra, thank you for having me.
As tomorrow is International Yoga Day, so can we quick explain us the importance of yoga in our daily lifestyles?
Wishing all of you a very, very happy International Day of Yoga. And also today being Father's Day, so wish you all a very good, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Importance of yoga. Yoga is a way of life. Yoga is a lifestyle. Yoga is a way of life. And in yoga, we believe that we are just not made of our physical body. So we have our physical body, we have our emotions, we have our mental health. So all of these put together, until and unless there is a balance or there's a well-being in all these three aspects of our being, we cannot truly be healthy. To give you an example, somebody is doing a lot of exercise, is physically pretty fit, okay, is eating the right kind of food, they are following a good nutrition, eating the right kind of food, they're doing their physical exercise. But in the mind, if they are always thinking negative, in the mind, if there is a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, then there cannot be good health, then there cannot be holistic wellness, as we call it. So with the help of yoga, it not only gives your physical health a good boost, but also your emotional and your mental well-being, it takes care of. And that is why, and that is wherein lies the importance of yoga in our daily lives.
From the pandemic, what we are seeing, that people, the most asked question is this yoga can help us in recovering COVID.
Yes, definitely. There is no doubt that yoga plays a major and pivotal role in COVID recovery, because the major organ with the pandemic that the virus affects is the lungs. And with proper breathing technique that yoga has given us, with proper asanas where we can enhance the capacity of the lung and the working of the lung, it definitely helps us to improve our functioning of the lungs, and it helps us in the COVID recovery. And also when one, see whatever has happened, a lot of loved ones losing their lives and a lot of health problems happening around on such a massive scale. So there's a lot of stress which is built up in people's mind. Of course, also because their job and their work and everything is affected. So not only the health, but other parameters of their life is also affected. So people are undergoing a lot of stress. Yoga helps in stress management also. Whenever you breathe in deep and long, it relaxes your mind. See, when you're happy, how is the breath? It's like, I feel so happy. And then when you are very, very tensed, when you're anxious, when you're angry, how is the breath? It is very, very fast, right? When we do pranayam, it helps us to make the quality of the breath, improve the quality of the breath. So in terms of asana, in terms of breathing, and in terms of a lot of meditation, and in terms of a lot of, relaxation, it helps us to de-stress. And once a person is de-stressed, then the immunity goes up. So it is a vicious cycle. So a person gets infected with the virus, the immunity level is already low, it further lowers down, and then the person is a little bit stressed. So it further brings down the immunity. But then if you do yoga, then what happens is for some time at least, you're de-stressed. So once you're de-stressed, your immunity comes back into its normal position, and then the functioning of the lungs also improves because your immunity also improves. So it is all connected. So yoga definitely plays a major role, especially in the pandemic time. And also because now we are closed in our homes, we are not able to go out, we are not able to do any other form of exercise. This is where yoga has really come to our rescue, because all that a person needs is a mat length, space, just your height and your body space, and you can do yoga anywhere.
Like gym, like only one person can go twice. I think yoga, entire family can do sitting together. It's like a family time.
That's right. That's right, Sangamitra, because of these online classes, which we were forced to start with. So before 2020, I could have never imagined that I would be teaching yoga online, because yoga is something very, very interactive, and you teach when the instructor is there in front of you, and you learn and you practice that way. But new times, we adapt to new situations, new times. So because of this pandemic, we were forced to take yoga online. And I have students from Australia, from UK, from US, from Germany, and we see the whole family, as you rightly said, practicing together yoga. And then it builds up a very beautiful bonding also. So yoga is helping to build that bond because the family together is practicing yoga.
Third wave, I think we'll be hitting within 1 or 2 months. So any tips for that to boost the immunity?
We have to understand that immunity cannot be boosted overnight. So suddenly we saw when the first wave of the coronavirus was there, everybody were taking a lot of immunity booster drinks. Everybody were doing. So We used to hold pranayam sessions. If earlier there were 25, 30 people joining, now suddenly 150 people were joining. But then we have to understand that immunity cannot be built overnight. It is a process. It is a slow, steady progress. So what I would say is before the third wave or the fourth wave or the fifth wave and whatever hits us, what we have to really look into is our health. So we have to prioritize our health, physical and mental health. And if not a very long time, at least 20 minutes every day, we have to give to prioritize our health, do the stretches, do the pranayam, sit still for the mental mind to relax for some time. And then if we do it regularly and consistently over a period of time, third wave, fourth wave, fifth wave, whatever hits us, we are making ourselves strong enough to fight it. It is better, be there, you better equip yourself rather than being sorry later. So what I would suggest is if you have not already started, make sure that you do 15 minutes of pranayam every day, 15 minutes of yoga asanas to stretch the body, to improve your blood circulation, to massage the internal organs. And after you've done your practice, 15 minutes, at least 5 minutes to just sit still and observe your breath, because a calm mind can conquer anything. If your mind is anxious and if there's a lot of anxiety in the mind, it is going to affect your physical health also. So all of this, if you do it on a regular basis, then whatever number of waves hit us, we will be able to fight it, we will be able to conquer it.
But well, from last year, what we are seeing a drastic change in work style, that is work from home. So a lot of people are complaining about neck pain, arms, wrist pain, back pain. So is there any asanas or any tips for them?
Correct posture is very important. See, when you do yoga, say for half an hour or 1 hour. So you fix your back, your upper back, your lower back, everything. That is in that 1 hour. What do you do the rest of the 23 hours is also very, very important. If not, I would say it is more important. So how you're sitting and working, how you're standing, all of this really matters. So one common tip I can say is, and whenever you're sitting or standing, make sure that your ear, your shoulder, your hip and your ankle are in a one line. So I'll just step back, I'll stand and I'll show you so that everybody can benefit out of this. So just give me 1 second. So make sure that when you're standing, your feet, okay, your ankles, your hip, your shoulder and your ears are in one line. What happens many a times we don't realize, and either we are sitting like this or we are standing like this. I'm exaggerating this so that you all can understand. Now see, my head is not in line with the rest of the body. My head is jacking forward. This will definitely cause a lot of pressure in the neck and will lead you with a lot of pain and discomfort in the neck. And over a period of time, it might also lead you to cervical spondylosis, okay? And also when we are sitting like this on the chair, most often we do that, we don't realize. See, we are putting a lot of load in our lower back. And this also causes a compression and then pain in the lower back. So if you're sitting on the chair, make sure you have a back support so that your back can be upright, okay? And also when you're standing, make sure that you're standing with your ankles, your hips, your shoulders, and your ears in one line. So just look into the posture. If you're watching TV, nowadays, a lot of us, we unwind by watching Netflix and a lot of things on the net. But we don't care of our posture and we're just sitting like this, slouching, and then we are watching the the iPad or we are watching on our laptop. So that is not the right thing. Make sure that you're sitting straight, you're sitting correct, look into your posture. Because if you look into the posture, then you can actually prevent a lot of back pains, lower back pains, upper back pains, and things like that. Another thing for your wrist, which you had asked, taking breaks, frequent breaks, every 1 hour, every 2 hours, just stretch, open and close your fists like this, and then you can rotate your wrist. You can pull the palms inwards because you're working like this. As a counter pose, if you pull your palms inwards like this, it's going to help. So taking every 1 hour, 2 hours, taking that break where you just stretch the body. You can do stretches. You can just raise your hands up and down. You can turn side to side so that the blood circulation can improve. Because if you're sitting in one position, in one form for a long time, then the blood circulation is not proper in the body. So as soon as you just move around, you twist, you slightly bend forward and up, your blood circulation gets improved and you don't feel fatigued and you don't feel that pains and ache so much. And I would really want everybody who's working at home is start taking your workstation down on the floor. Instead of sitting on the chair and table, Because see, earlier our ancestors, as Indians, our forefathers, we always had a workspace where we would sit on the floor and we would have a platform on which we would put our books and pens, and now, of course, the laptops and everything. It is very modern that we sit on the chair. Sitting on the chair for a long time, it tightens the muscles around the hips. And if your hip muscles are tight, then it can lead to lower back pain and knee pain also. So what I would suggest is, right now I'm talking to you, I'm sitting on the floor. I'm here sitting on the floor. I have a table in front of me, and that is where I have placed my laptop. So if you can imitate that, so in the beginning, it'll be difficult because people are not used to sitting in the floor. They will feel their back is hurting. They're not able to sit. Take a back support, go near the wall, take a back support. Till your back muscles, which are the anti-gravity muscles, okay? Anti-gravity muscles, which keeps us away from gravity, which keeps us upright. So these anti-gravity muscles, once they become strong, you will be able to sit straight and you will be able to do the work. So I am recommending and strongly I'm suggesting everybody who asks me, who are working from home, is to start sitting on the floor and taking their workstation on the floor. Maybe start with 1 or 2 hours, 3 hours, and then go back to table and chair, then again shift, come down. But then it's going to really help in the long run. And another thing, at least one meal, sit on the floor and eat. Don't sit on table and chair. So one meal, sit on the floor and eat. If you're sitting on the floor cross-legged, again, it makes your hips very supple and it keeps your spine very supple. And in yoga, we say, you're as young as your spine is healthy. So if your hip, your spine, your body parts are supple and flexible, there is a good blood circulation, then you will feel healthy physically a lot. Yes. And it also helps in the bowel movement also. So any digestive system problems, people who are constipated, bowels, early morning is difficult to clear the bowels. It is very, very good for your bowel movements also if you sit on the floor cross-legged. It helps in easy digestion also. So your metabolism also revs up. People who want to lose weight, for them also it is effective because your metabolism is boosted. So it's multi-benefits when you sit on the floor and you work. So I'll just tell you how they can go about it.
You can have that.
So they can be sitting on the floor. They can sit cross-legged, okay? Now, if they find that if they are sitting like this and their back is hurting and soon they're going to slouch like this, for some time, they can sit against the wall. So they have the back support because the wall is there. And then they can have some kind of a table, like a shoulder height, arms distance away. Yeah, arms distance away. And then they can work on the system like this. See the benefits? They can sometimes stretch the legs like this, point and flex, improve the blood circulation. So I'll just move back. Point and flex, improve the blood circulation. They can stretch. This of course they can do on the chair also, but then sitting on the floor like this, these muscles are getting stretched properly around the hips, around the legs and the thighs. Our knees, our hips, our back is more, flexible and supple. So all of these benefits can be there.
Pratibha, can you show us few asanas that we can do early morning?
So as you wake up in the morning, you can do what is known as Tadasana. So you start with your feet parallel. Also, many a times we don't realize when we are standing, we stand like this with the toes turned out. And it has become our habit, we don't even realize. The best way to stand is when your feet are parallel and all the 10 toes are pointing forward. So you start with your feet, interlace the fingers, and then come up onto your toes, lift your heels up, stretch your whole body, hold it for a few seconds, and come down. So this you can repeat, say, about 10 to 15 times. You can do this. Then you can work on your neck movements, up and down, side to side. You can work on shoulder rotations. You can work on your shoulders, elbows, wrist joint. Again, this, when you're working on the system for a long time. So you do your wrist movement. So there's a good blood circulation. There's a good suppleness in the muscles and the muscle fibers. So long hours of doing this will not cause pain. Then you can do your hip rotations. You can do your knee movements. You can do your ankle rotations. If your knees are healthy, you can squat up and down a couple of times, again, to strengthen the muscles. After you've done all of these joint movements, you can do your couple of rounds of Surya Namaskars, as I mentioned. Then you can work on the core. You can do the boat pose. So you can just be here. As a beginner, you keep your spine straight, bring your feet close, and you stay here. You can continue holding the legs if needed. Once you become a little more adept in this, you can start releasing the hands. Once you become a little more adept, you stretch. So this is going to work on your hip flexor muscles. Then you can lie down. You can do leg raises, single leg raises, double leg raises for the core, okay, for the strength of the core. And then you can do back strengthening. So lying on the stomach, you can come up in Bhujangasana, lifting your head and chest. You can do that. And then, as I said, towards the end it with Shavasana and Pranayam, so that you have taken care of your relaxation of the mind, and you've also taken care of the breath work, working on the lungs and your respiratory organs.
What about the food habits on yoga? We should take care.
See, according to what yoga says, yoga and Ayurveda goes hand in hand. And what yoga says is eat what is fresh, what is local, and what is seasonal. Okay? Don't go into any kind of fad diets and all, because they're not going to last long. We are used to a certain kind of eating. If I'm a North Indian, I would love to have my rotis. If you are a South Indian, you would love to have your rice. Okay? So eat what is your genetic code, what your genes have, what the kind of genes you have. In yoga, what they say, one thing only, we don't count calories. In yoga, we don't count calories. We count, or we measure the prana shakti of the food. What is the prana? What is the prana? Prana is the energy. Okay? I'm talking to you, you're listening to me, you're processing whatever you're saying. I'm trying to analyze what I have to say and how I'm saying it. All of these things, okay, whether in the mind or the physical body, it is being done because of some energy, the bioenergy. That is the prana. And this prana gets it increases when we do yoga, when we do asanas, when we do pranayam, when we do meditation. This prana increases. So the food that we take also has prana. So a freshly cooked food, a seasonal food, something which is grown locally is high on prana. But a food which is packaged, okay, which is kept in the fridge for a long time, which has been heated, microwaved again and again, loses its prana. So according to yoga, we should always have food which is high on prana, because high on prana will give more prana to the body. And because of less prana in the body, we attract a lot of illnesses, either physical illness or mental illness. But if we are strong on prana, then no matter what virus attacks us, we can fight it. It's not that we will not get the COVID, okay? Because of the exposure, we might get affected with COVID. But how much prana or how strong your prana is inside, you will be able to fight that virus. So people who recover from the COVID very fast, it's because of the high prana that they have inside. And this high prana can happen with the right exercise, right amount of sleep at the right time, right food, as I said, seasonal, local, and fresh, and also with positive thoughts. The more negative thoughts, the more anxiety, the more frustration, the more fear, you're dissipating more prana. And also another thing, according to yoga, they say, when you're cooking the food, the thought or the mental process or the emotion with which you're cooking the food is going to give the food high prana or low prana. Somebody is cooking the food with a lot of frustration, with a lot of stress, and okay, I have to do this, I have to do that. That food will have low prana. And somebody is cooking the food with a lot of love, care. Why do we all love our mother's hands cooking? Because it's prepared with a lot of love. Any prasad you take from the temple or, anywhere, or from the Gurudwara, any prasad you take, prasad is always tasty. There is no prasad that is not tasty. You agree to that, isn't it? Why is it so? It's because from the heart that cooks food, the emotions with which that food is cooked, it is that emotion of complete surrender, of love, okay, with which that food is cooked. So that food is high on prana. So stop counting your food only with calories. It's not going to take you anywhere. Look into the prana shakti of the food is what I would suggest to everybody. It's been 12 years now that I have started teaching. I mean, it was never planned. I had not thought I will be teaching. I was learning yoga because I enjoyed doing yoga. And I wanted to know, basically, when I joined a yoga class, I used to always come back feeling very, very happy. Feeling very, very happy. I used to be very overjoyed. So I used to always wonder, what is that change that yoga is doing that I feel very happy after a yoga class? Unfortunately, when I asked my teacher, she was not able to answer me, fortunately or unfortunately. That led me to the quest of yoga. I wanted to know that what is the science behind the practice of yoga that makes me feel so good. And that led me to the quest of yoga. I did my teacher training. I learned about yoga. And as the story goes, I was forced to teach, starting with 5 students. Now, of course, we have 500 across the globe. And because of this online, now we are offering classes online. And many of our students who were our students in Hyderabad and they had to leave because they moved out of Hyderabad, they again reconnected. So as soon as they got to know about the online classes, they reconnected. And now I have students from the US, from Australia, from UK, Singapore, from all over the place. And it is really beautiful. Earlier, as I said, we were not sure how this whole online yoga classes will go, because yoga, if you go wrong, it can be pretty, you can mess up, you can cause injuries in the body. But I think we have all adapted to the new norm. As teachers, we have adopted. As instructors, we have adopted. As students, they have adopted. And now we run about 7-8 sessions throughout the day. And each session, we have about 60-70 people joining in. And I have a whole team of instructors. And all of us, we have got used to practicing and teaching 60-70 students online also. And we don't face any problems. And we have students since the 2020 March, we have students and they are still practicing with us, so that the students are also enjoying and they're liking the classes online also.
Okay, Pratibha, thank you so much for talking to us and explaining about the importance of yoga. I hope you all will take care
Thank you.
and start doing yoga more seriously.